Hey y'all, welcome back. Today, we're checking out 7 things I learned to do for the first time after moving to the UK as an American.
Hi and welcome back to the Girl Gone London channel. If you're
Hi.
new here, my name is Kaylin. I'm a dual UK and
Kaylin.
American citizen. I have lived in the UK for over 10 years now. And today I'm talking about skills that I have learned since moving to the UK that I didn't have before. And
let's see, I can guess. Driving on the left side of the road, using a roundabout, that was in the thumbnail. Baking, opening the windows instead of using your air conditioner. Language stuff. Using an umbrella. Brewing tea. Yorkshire pudding. Let's see.
And no, speaking proper English is not one of them, according to many people in my audience, but maybe one day I'll get there. Okay, so the first skill on my list has to do with driving because I learned how to drive on the other side of the road. Everyone's familiar. Americans drive on the right-hand side. British people drive on the left-hand side. And so the cars are different. The steering wheel in an American car is on the left side if you're sitting in the car looking out the windscreen from sitting within the car.
Windscreen.
And it's opposite in the UK. So you get in on the right side. And that's where you'll find the steering wheel. So already it's different when you're a passenger, but it's definitely different when you're actually doing the driving. So
I bet it would be different. It seems like a simple adjustment, but when you're actually doing it, I bet it would be weird. And this was reminding me when I took driver's ed in high school, we did the training and stuff, and then the driver instructor was in the car with me, and 2 of my classmates were in the back seat. We were driving around our town, and I turned left, and I turned onto the incoming traffic. I turned onto the left side of the road. And the driver was like, boy, what you doing? If you were in New York City, they'd chew you up and spit you out. And it scared the crap out of me. Anyway, I've driven on the left side of the road in America.
Sitting on an opposite side of the car, driving on an opposite side of the road.
Right.
It did take me some time to get used to this and to not have to think so much about it. I used to drive like into a car park or a parking lot, as Americans would call it. And often if I just had like an open stretch of road or an open like space in a parking lot, I would forget which side of the road I needed to be on. If there were lines and I was just following traffic, I would do very well. But if I was kind of just like in an open space, I would have to think, make sure to stay on the left.
Yeah, that would be weird.
And that has gone now. So I really drive very naturally on the left-hand side. I don't think about it too much. And it is easier to switch back and forth than it used to be.
Good for you.
When I did first start driving here in the UK, I didn't do anything dangerous, but I certainly did get kind of close to the bushes or to things on the other side of the road at times because I was used to veering towards one side when driving. But like I said, it was never dangerous except for the paint on my car and a couple of scratches. But for the most part, I figured it out and now I can drive on the left-hand side of the road.
Hang on. Kaylin, you're skipping over some great stories of you hitting stuff. She probably hit some walls, some little barriers, maybe ran over some badgers. I want to hear about these accidents. Kaylin, you're burying the lead. Okay.
Another thing I've learned since moving to the UK is how to make a proper cup of tea. And it did take me quite a while because I don't make tea the British way in the US.
How hard can it be?
I didn't really make tea at all. I'd never really had tea before. And so when I moved to the UK, I had to learn how to make it because
y'all, we have tea. People drink tea here.
People coming to your house might expect a cup of tea if you work in an office as an intern or just somebody participating in office life.
Right.
You might be asked to make someone a cup of tea. And so,
y'all, I worked in recording studios when I was first starting as a professional, and I had to make people tea. I made some very famous people tea, and they liked it. I made an English producer tea all the time. His name is Peter Collins. It's not that hard, right?
I had to learn. And what I learned is that you take the tea bag, you put it in the mug, you put boiling water over it, and then you steep it for a certain amount of time based on whether somebody likes their tea weak or strong. Then you add whether they like milk or sugar. You add varying degrees of that, and people often express their tea preferences by color. So if they want a lot of milk, it might be more of like a beige color. And if they prefer their tea kind of darker, then they might express that in color. So tea
Peter Collins told me to make it the color of Janet Jackson. That might be a little racist, but this was 20 years ago.
is often described in color instead of just strong or weak, and everybody has their own preferences. Now, this doesn't sound too difficult, but if you've seen videos on the internet of Americans trying to make cups of tea using the microwave, this sends British people screaming. And also, a lot of Americans tend to drink coffee and know how to make coffee rather than tea. So this is just a cultural divide in what is more popular. I've now made many cups of tea in my life here in the UK, and nobody has thrown it back at me yet. So I think I'm doing okay, and I've gotten better at it over the years.
What's that contraption behind her? What is that? What is that, y'all? According to the robots, it looks like a water drop countertop reverse osmosis water purifier and dispenser. Okay. She's got some dope-ass water in that kitchen, I guess.
One other thing I've learned over the years is that the most important part of a cup of tea isn't always the actual tea bag. It's also the water. This is why tea in the USA actually can taste different than tea in the UK. Many people mention this, and I have now taken my tea making game to the next level with my water drop A2 filter, which means that people who come to my house are seriously about to start living very large when it comes to the tea I serve them. So
product placement. Product placement. Okay.
About my experience in the comments. The next skill on my list also has to do with driving, and it is one I am very proud of. It is learning how to navigate a roundabout, because roundabouts are very uncommon, especially where I'm from in the US, in Florida. There's some states that have more than others. They might call it a traffic circle, but still a roundabout and a roundabout.
Y'all, we have roundabouts.
Roundabout with such intense navigation required, like the Swindon Magic roundabout, are pretty much a British thing compared to an American thing. So I had to...
Swindon what? Swindon Magic roundabout? Show me on a... Yeah, we have roundabouts. I know they're not as common, but we have them. People know how to use them. It's not a crazy thing. What's so interesting about this roundabout? Well, there is a parking lot entrance exit right here, so that might complicate things. Oh, yeah, okay. It's like a double layer roundabout. Okay, I take back everything I said. I've never seen a double ringed roundabout, I have to say. That would be confusing. Yeah, okay. I take it back. We have single ring roundabouts.
Roundabout are pretty much a British thing compared to an American thing. So I had to learn how to navigate a roundabout safely, the flow of traffic, which lane to be in, when to signal, how to just move with the flow of traffic without stopping unless you need to stop because cars are coming. But in the USA, we mostly have four-way traffic stops. And so that means that you're going to have stop signs or you're going to have traffic lights. You don't often have the continuous flow that a roundabout allows for, which does make for a smoother flow of traffic, but it also means that you need to be a better driver, you need to be more aware, and you need to be able, you can't just stop at the red light and then go when green says to go. There are some roundabouts with traffic lights, but a lot of them don't have that. So you have to make sure you yield to the correct people at the correct time. You judge the distance that they are away, and if you have time to enter the roundabout. These things are really uncommon to need to know in America, and I have successfully learned how to navigate a roundabout, and I have been on some pretty intense ones in my day. I have been on the Swindon roundabout, and I have been to other places like Milton Keynes, which is an American-style-ish purpose-built city that I once visited. And they have tons and tons of roundabouts that you're just always having to go around instead of traffic lights. Now the next...
Okay. I mentioned that, I gotta mention this, y'all. I grew up in a little town called Live Oak, Florida. And there's a roundabout right here. Look, roundabout. What is that? They put some art in the middle? They did. Look at that. Wow, this looks so different. Whoa. They tore some stuff down. Oh my God, it looks desolate. Maybe it's just my perspective is different now, but I feel like there was more stuff there when I lived there. Anyway, this used to be a 5-way intersection, and I would come down this way, like my dad would drive me to school, and we would come down this way, and then the light would take forever, and we had tried to take a left turn here. But then they put in the roundabout, and you just go, shh, and it changed It changed my life, my daily life. It was so much better. It was so much better. Sometime a roundabout is the way to go, you know?
Skill on my list that I learned in the UK is how to what they call bleed a radiator. And it has nothing to do with actual bleeding, thankfully. But radiators are part of the heating systems in UK homes. They're very uncommon in American homes.
Yes, they
American
are.
homes often heat their homes with HVAC systems, not the water-filled radiators. And so when I encountered radiators for the first time, obviously I had to be shown how to turn one on, how to use the different knobs and stuff. But there's something called bleeding a radiator. And for that, you need a radiator key. And what this means is essentially air can build up in the radiator, which is going to make it less effective. And in order to bleed the air out of the radiator, you have to use this radiator key to do this little process, allowing more of the system to fill up with that warm water that's essentially giving off the heat into your home. And I had to learn this when I was renting, and it's not something that you would like get someone to come do for you. It's something that you need to pretty much learn how to do yourself. And I also have gotten more used to how to operate and how to troubleshoot a combi boiler, which are also really common in UK homes and not common in American homes.
I've never heard of that.
So I haven't had to do too much on it because obviously boiler stuff is best left to professionals. But occasionally when there is an error code, I can figure out how to adjust the settings to ensure that the system comes back online if it's something pretty easy. Now the next thing on...
Hang on. Y'all, I've never lived in a home with a radiator. I've seen them. When I lived in New York, I had friends whose apartments had radiators, but I never used one. I never had to bleed a radiator. How hard could it be, though? Do you just turn the key and let the air out? It sputters a bit, I imagine. How to bleed a radiator.
Hi, welcome to another video.
Hi.
So today we're going to bleed the radiators. It's that time of year where actually you might find
He's
that your
British.
radiators are not working effectively. It's always good to bleed your radiators, probably about once a year.
Okay.
These are the items that you're going to need. So I've got a flathead screwdriver. This is used just for the more modern radiators where it's got just a flathead screw. I've also got a radiator key which then fits the square screws that just on the end at the top of the radiator. I've also got just a container just to catch some of the water, but also an old towel. Okay, now we can bleed the radiators. All we need to do is just put a screwdriver on the end here and then just turn it anti-clockwise, to turn it to the left.
Anti-clockwise.
But what we'll also do is to just put this just underneath, just to catch any water. I'll also use a towel just underneath here to catch any water, and then all you do is just turn it to the left. You might hear hissing if it's a cold radiator at the top and there's air being released. And it's like straight away the water is dripping out.
Okay. This guy's radiators are perfectly maintained. Yeah, I don't think it seems pretty simple, right?
Now the next thing on my list also has to do with hot water, but it's having to fill a hot water bottle rather than a radiator. So a hot water bottle is something that many people in the UK use over the winter months to stay warm, but I had to learn exactly how to fill it, the right temperature to fill it at. And you might think you just pour boiling water into it, but actually no, you are supposed to pour close to boiling, but not boiling, just very...
I would just put hot water in it, right?
Warm/hot, but not boiling water,
I wouldn't put boiling water.
into one of these rubber contraptions, and you kind of want to lift it on its side a bit, so as you pour it in, there's not a ton of air bubbles, and then you fill it kind of as much to the top as possible, but not to the top, and you put the little corkscrew thing back on, shove it in its fluffy container or sleeve, and there you go.
I feel like that's exactly how I would have done it. Maybe not. I don't know. It seems pretty simple. What am I missing? What complications am I missing?
Yeah, I had never used one of these or filled one of these things before moving to the UK. Now, the next thing on my list has to do with how to make Yorkshire puddings. This is another skill that I learned. I had never experienced a Yorkshire pudding, never had one before.
Now this, see, I feel like the radiator bleeding and the water bottle, those are there to get to the number 7, because the number 7's a good number to have on YouTube. Yorkshire pudding, That is a skill that has to be acquired, I think, because I've tried it and it's not
before
easy.
moving to the UK, but they are one of my favorite things, and I've learned how to make them from scratch at home.
Wait, did I guess this? I guessed this one, didn't I? I did.
Using flour, making the batter, going through multiple tests to ensure that they're rising properly. This is just one of the culinary things I've learned since moving to the UK. I also learned how to make sausage rolls back in the day. I've learned how to do things like
sausage
just
rolls.
put together an English breakfast, obviously. Beans on toast. I'm not gonna lie, I did have to learn how to make this. And you're gonna go, well, how do you have to learn how to make beans on toast?
That's exactly what I was thinking.
I don't know. I needed to know, do you butter the toast? Do you not butter the toast? How many beans do you put on? I had a whole blog post back in the day.
When she says how many beans, it makes me think that she's like counting the beans. I know she's not, but it's a good mental image.
Detailing me learning how to make beans on toast. Okay. Luckily, it was very easy.
Y'all, I made beans on toast. Be sure to check out that video.
You do just toast the toast. I put butter on, and then you dump as many beans as you want.
Right.
But again, did you do hot beans? Do you do cold beans? These are the questions I had back in the day. I do hot beans. Does anyone have cold beans on toast? Because that doesn't sound great, but I do have cold beans with other things like leftover pizza. So maybe some people do have cold beans on toast, but I don't. I put hot beans on toast, and thus I have learned basically all I need to know about British culinary life. And the last skill that I put on my list has to do with how to use swinging gates, public footpaths, and read the signage in the countryside in the UK. And so in the UK, there is a right to roam, which essentially means there's public footpaths everywhere, but there's lots of different signs pointing out where you can and can't go. You'll also encounter lots of different gates and also these wooden planks that help you walk over fences, because you are allowed to hop over the fence in order to keep going on the public footpath. These are things I hadn't experienced in the US. We don't have the same right to roam. We don't have the same, we have national parks and you can go for a walk in your neighborhood, but we don't have the same type of signage and things in the countryside. So as I've lived in the UK for over 10 years, I've spent lots of time walking in the countryside, learning how all of these different systems work, ensuring that I'm looking out for the green public footpath sign, and figuring out what it looks like on a path that I am allowed on and how to continue on that path versus one that is private property or I am not supposed to be on. Because a lot of times...
Hang on. What do these look like? What are these boards that help you walk over a fence? British boards that help you walk over a fence. Right to roam images. Is this it? Crisscross step? Britain's roaming. Oh. They're like little steps. I've never seen that. Okay. So that's like a little ladder. Okay. I didn't know that was a thing, y'all. I didn't know. That's actually very clever.
One that is private property or I am not supposed to be on, because a lot of times there will be a gate that appears closed, but actually it's just a swinging gate, or what they call a kissing gate, which also can keep like sheep and other animals on the right side of the fence, but humans can easily go through this gate.
They can't open a gate.
But it can feel like you're not allowed to continue on the path, but often you are. You just have to know how to use the gate, or all of the different like walkover planks and stuff like that. So I have learned how to navigate the roads, and also I would say how to navigate the public footpaths and the countryside. Now that brings me to the end of this video. Thanks as always for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.
That was interesting. Y'all be sure to go to Girl Colonna and like and subscribe. I apologize for chastising her for those simple things like the water bottle thing. I guess if you've never done it, you just don't know, right? I feel like I could have figured that out, but maybe I couldn't. Maybe. I don't know. Right to roam signs. Respect the landowner. Stay on trail. Registered campers only. Your special wording here. Hiking trail. Add your custom park text. Okay. Oh. No pedestrian access to hill. Okay. This is the right to roam map? Hey. I mean, interesting. I guessed a few of these, didn't I? The driving, the Yorkshire puddings, the making the tea, which was actually an ad. Okay, yeah. Y'all, she's acquiring skills. Be sure to go to Girl Colonna and like and subscribe. I'd like to thank my patrons. I'd like to thank my Buy Me a Coffee folks. Thank y'all for watching this with me, and I'll see y'all next time.